Good afternoon, everybody. This is the same day. I haven't posted any other videos. Wednesday. I am exhausted. It's only 12:47 in the afternoon, and normally it would be 3, almost 4 o'clock, almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would have had the sun coming in low in the other apartment, in the apartment with the winter time sun being lower in the sky, but then setting pretty soon. At our kitchen, which you guys see me in the dark in one room, is kind of like an oblong apartment with a huge building blocking a lot of any kind of light, and no windows on the whole side of that apartment. 0 windows whatsoever. It is really crazy. Like, it's pretty depressing, to tell you the truth. I need to do something about it. Like, try to take a walk twice a day is one thing, even at least once a day, which I wasn't doing. But going back in your home and it's dark and depressing, and you can't stand up and you can't stretch like you can here, is better than nothing. But it's really hard to get motivated. And the garage we lived in before was exactly the same, but smaller. I almost feel like the garage had a taller ceiling, because you saw the other bit. I don't even know if did I even film in that one. I just filmed them all at the while I was driving. So I wouldn't mind going outside, but it's super loud. I still need to get some stuff from the store, and I'm super duper undecisive. I'm deciding, if I do this, I'm gonna have to get in the car and go to the store. It's almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so it would probably be around 3. I'd have to go to the next town over, which I'm not looking forward to. And I'd have to get on the crazy highway. Movie marathon. Sims 4, or no, it's not Sims 4, sorry. I have Sims 4 on this computer, it doesn't work. This is not enough memory. Sims Pre-Sims, or Sims Free Play, is that what it's called? The pregnancy one. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm thinking. Order the thing I have to go pick up. I need to get a gift card for it. Go pick that up. And then, I think I can get a $20 gift card. That's not very much money. Go pick that up. Then use a different gift card to go and get something else. But if I use Instacart, they trick you by saying free delivery, or free delivery after you spend $10 or $25 or $35. But the service fee can be like, what did I do, DoorDash? The service fee was like $15 or $18. I'm like, really? I couldn't afford just the food, but I ended up ordering it before I was out of phone service on Saturday. I just finished it this morning, the food, which I guess that's good. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But it was between the tip and the service fee. I had a gift card for that too, and I didn't use, because I was not able to pull all that together, and the gift card would have covered it, but it would have saved me some money. Actually, 2 gift cards. I don't even know if you could do that. So I am at the stage of trying to just either go out tomorrow morning, the same as today, and get out before 7, because coming home at 7:15, it was definitely rush hour in this metropolitan city. and it was starting to get very crowded, and still a little bit dark, just the busyness of the world. So I think the store that I want to go to is not going to be open by 7. I think, what did I say was open at 7? Grocery Outlet, or what was the other one? I didn't go to those today. So my other option is to just go somewhere with like $10 and try to get something at the drugstore. Use a gift card for Instacart with a coupon. That's good, I think, until the 26th. But again, I haven't. I think if you did like the $50, I never even used this one. Right? Spend $50, save $25 or something like that. I think I may or may not have used that one, but I think when I wanted to use that one from Dollar Tree, I wanted some water, and they were going to charge $10 for, even if you ordered one water, $10 extra for heavy item fee. I'm like, really? So, I'm so thirsty. Speaking of water, I've been watching this guy doing his adventures, and I don't even want to leave the house. My teeth hurt too. I don't even want to leave the house. 1998, the first time I was homeless, I was with my husband at the time. Both of our moms had just died, and we had gone to 2 funerals of my mom's. One in Michigan, one in Ohio. Sometime during that traveling back and forth, because I was in East Lansing, and the house I grew up in was 3 hours east, and I had Ohio, I don't know, 7 hours south, something like that. Maybe from where I was, it would have been 4 or 5 hours south, one way. And so I don't even remember spending the night anywhere. But during all that traveling around, I had, first of all, my cat had 4 kittens while we were gone. And the management, the treasurer stole one of my checks. I was getting money orders from 7-Eleven. They took the check and cashed it, but they said they wrote that I paid it, and then somebody scribbled it out and said I didn't pay the rent. I was like, I know. I would go to 7-Eleven, go to the ATM, get a money order, and pay my rent every single month. I was so mad about that. They sent me to collections, guys. I'm so mad. I hate when you do right and somebody tells you you're doing wrong. And they took my security deposit, which was more than the rent that they tried to get me for. So that, oh gosh, I wish I hired a lawyer. I didn't find that out until years later. But anyways, the management rented my room out while I was gone. And I'd been there for 2 years, paying my rent on time, except for when someone stole my money. But I paid it. I actually had all of the receipts. I had all of them in an envelope. And I would have got my security deposit back if I had submitted those. And I just kind of donated it. Idiot. Like, sometimes I'm trying to be so nice and so good, and people take advantage of me, and I am just feel like this world, you gotta really watch your back. You gotta be on top of it. Sometimes stuff happens by mistake, and sometimes it's definitely targeted. So, speaking of that, I better just, not let my guard down. But I ended up, this is like super dirty, I ended up having to just pack up my Jeep, and I had 7 animals. So my dog was staying at my brother's, my cat had the 4 kittens, and then I had a goldfish. And we had to just throw stuff out. Yeah, there's just a scramble. I was supposed to graduate. All of this chaos happened. I missed a test. I would have got a C in the class with my other test scores, but the teacher failed me. So I My mom died. His mom died 2 weeks before my mom died. We got told that my room was rented, and I had told them that I want to rent the room. I for sure was going to rent the room. I didn't even know about my test or the class. I thought I was just going to pass it, but I never knew about incompletes or absence. Absence, like if your mother dies and your mother-in-law dies. So, that's horrible, horrible. Gosh, I'm one of those people that I feel like falls through the cracks. Like, oh my goodness. Like, you can't expect someone to be like, hey, you're 21 years old, your mom and your mother-in-law, your partners, your husband's mom died within 2 weeks of each other. And you're like so young, you have no family support, you only have each other. Two young people are like, I don't know what to do. Which is part of why we got together, because we got together when our moms were sick. And had no clue to be able to estimate when they would not be with us anymore. I'm gonna cry. But to be backstabbed and not helped by the family. I was the youngest person in my family. No support. And when she was sick, my dad wouldn't even let me in the house for more than 10 minutes. I was in that house more than my dad was, because my dad was always working out of town and having apartments all over Michigan, being in the military, all this stuff. He was hardly home, being in Germany for months. Like, I had been in that house, and to have him in the house and then not let me in the house for more than 10 minutes, not let my husband in the house at all, not even to use the bathroom. I couldn't even get a glass of water like this. I just had to go in, talk to mom, go straight out. I probably didn't even use the restroom. I just went in and went out. It was an absolute nightmare. It was a very abusive household. My mom's relatives couldn't even come in the house when my dad was there either. The people that she had known for decades longer than she knew my dad. Her own blood relatives who drove 7 hours from Ohio to see her while she was still alive. They had to park in the street and wait for him to leave and then sneak in the house. Anyways, I was very poor. I was homeless. I was broke. I was confused. I don't know, when I found out I didn't pass. I knew I didn't do an internship, so I knew I wouldn't graduate, so I didn't even try. My guidance counselor said he wasn't going to help me. I was in 3 different programs. I was in agriculture, college of agriculture. I was in the RISE program for environmental studies, and I was on the I was in the Lyman Briggs, but I declined that special science program and did a different science program, the Charles Drew Enrichment Lab. I ended up having at least 3 advisors. It was a nightmare. Not one of them liked me at all. As you noticed by my views, I'm not a very likable person. So, it's been like this, and it's very depressing. And it's like someone's in my old church said, somebody's married 8 times. Can't always blame the person you married. You're the common denominator. I don't always believe that, because you could very well be super sweet and nice and be tricked like I was into marrying someone, and then like Jekyll and Hyde, they change after you got that piece of paper that says you're bonded, and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, that happened to me. It was completely different. I did not have any red flags. The only red flag I had was that I had a lot of stuff that he didn't like, and that he wasn't going to help me deal with that, and that should have been a no-go for somebody that was unemployed and just sitting around. Like, I don't know. That was the one red flag. I definitely had a red flag, and it's, you end up in a situation where you find you're with a partner who doesn't have the capacity to be a pair and give and take. They just take from you. And that's what happened to me. Oh my gosh, it's a nightmare. There are a couple years that I was able to stay home with my kids and nurse. And thank the Lord that. So, because there was a lot of unemployment and there was a lot of me with hyperemesis, gravida, and I was trying to get jobs in West Virginia in the hills as a black woman. Oh my God, pregnant and sick, dirt poor. I had no clothes. I was walking around with sheets. Rewind a few months. Still in 98. We drove back and forth across the country. Found the Grand Canyon on the map. Wanted to go to the Grand Canyon. When we got to, it's starting to bother me. When we got to, I'm just putting it here, doesn't seem like it's going to help it out. I'm just going to start pushing buttons. They're still rolling. Whatever that stretch of road is to get to the entrance, I didn't even know we had to pay or how much it was going to be. We saw a McDonald's and we were homeless. And we didn't have any place to live. We didn't have any money. We didn't have any food. But I must have had like $20. And or a credit card that kept us from not just abandoning the vehicle and walking, into a grave somewhere. But that was pretty fast. That was shut off pretty fast. So what had happened was I ended up going to McDonald's and getting I don't know if we got a meal or if we just got 2 burgers and a drink. But it was something most complicated. It would have been a meal in the 90s. What were the meals? Like $2, $4 each? I don't know. Usually they'd be like $8 and under. You could get a sandwich, fries, and a drink for a few dollars. So it would have been under $8, under $10. At the Grand Canyon, it was $20. And we said, oh my God, because we're thinking McDonald's is cheap. Let's just get a little burger and, a little. We probably got the smallest thing on the menu because I was homeless and I was broke. And my family didn't even ask, do you need a shoulder to cry on? Do you need, So there's a bunch of stuff that fell off this. I have a habit of hanging stuff up with thumbtacks, and the plastic breaks and the pictures falls or whatever you hang up. That's very not smart of me. But, excuse me. When we get to the Grand Canyon, they said $20 per car. And we had just spent the $20 on this burger. And we said, what? Why is it so expensive? And we couldn't afford it. And I don't know if we could have found a way to afford it. But we were so homeless and so broke. And we just spent like idiots, not even knowing that we were paying $20 for McDonald's. Or we wouldn't have gone to McDonald's, even though we were super hungry. So what happens when you're poor and you're homeless and you can't get a job or, I never heard of food stamps or anything. I could not deal. And we said, well, we can't come in because we don't have the money. So we turned around and I said, fine, we'll find a back road. And so, I think it was still daytime. We drove for 8 hours on these back roads. And we didn't find the Grand Canyon. We just found a bunch of little structures like rock formations, sand formations with tons of beer and liquor bottles all over this road, and it was straight off-road, like every wheel of my Jeep Wrangler was just pushing it to the absolute limit. If we would have got stuck out there, we probably would have died. And what died was my goldfish. So finally we stopped, after 8 hours, and I don't even know. We were 8 hours on this road. somewhere near the Grand Canyon, thought we'd find the back way there for free because we couldn't afford it. I kind of wish they had some free passes for homeless people that didn't know. And I ended up having to pull over and bury my goldfish as he died from all that. And it was super hot. It was still late spring, I think. But I just watched the AB camp since 7 months ago do a Grand Canyon tour and a Hoover Dam tour and a helicopter ride. And I was so jealous. And I saw Let's Turn It Up World. And they have 2 channels too, I think. I haven't watched them in a while. But they did the same glamping stagecoach thingy. So I'm gonna cry. I think because when he did his, they had takeout food or delivery food from the campsite. But I think when they had Turn It Up World, I think they did have the restaurant. I don't know. I remember seeing them in a restaurant. But anyways, this stuff wasn't that long ago. But I was jealous. They had a lot of money. Everyone had a lot of money to pay for these campsites and helicopter rides and entry into the Grand Canyon. And I've yet to go there. I was going to go to Yellowstone once and I didn't pass the test. I had a horrible teacher who took over from a teacher that was excellent. And it just really didn't meld with my mind. And I had planned a trip to go to KOA, to a cabin outside of not Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, and then I was going to head up. Where is it in 2 states? I was going to end up somewhere in Montana. My friend had a place where we could camp in her yard and then go to the wedding. And I canceled it all. I missed the wedding. Me and my kids couldn't go. Me and my son cried all night. And I still never been to Yellowstone. So I haven't really been to any national parks. I've been to stuff in D.C. I guess that's kind of a national park. I don't know. My phone. Who's on my phone? Let me pause you. Oh, I just had this in a knot, but it's my fault. You know, if I could go back in time, I would say find any way to get in, use a card, look for change. Don't go to McDonald's. I don't think when we went through the line we knew like the price. Let me pause you. I just so feel like crying right now because it's not a priority. It's not a necessity for life. But you only live once, right? And if you're Hindu or if you believe in reincarnation, that's something. But this life is one life. For me, anyways, as far as I know. And having my kids and the health that we do have is way more important than going to the Grand Canyon and me being envious and jealous of people that have the money to go to these places and buy what's the word? You buy like an adventure instead of buying. You can already have your material items, but then you say, "Hey, I'm gonna go buy something that's a memory and a family trip, and just be different. Just get out of your comfort zone and be." I mean, how come every parks and landings and public piers, why do they all cost so much? My mind automatically thinks is to keep people like me out and to keep it from being super crowded. Like, where someone they don't like's like showing up at the park every day and making a mess. Like, well, charge them $20, then they won't come in, or maybe they will. But when I was a park ranger, I had people say, oh, I remember when we were residents of the county, it used to be free. I was like, well, or you're trying to get it free. Well, it's not free. You're going to get a ticket if you don't pay. And for people that use the piers where I used to work, it was way more expensive to fish than it was. Like, you could spend enough in a day as if you had a boat with a trailer is $35 for the whole year versus, what was it, $2 an hour or something? I don't even remember anymore. So, even if you're there 15 minutes, you pay $2. If you're there for 10 hours, you're paid $20. And some people were there overnight. It wasn't like at midnight you can not have to pay, somebody, if a ranger or anybody showed up, which I guess some people used to show up in the middle of the night and surprise people. But, I mean, I don't necessarily think that everything should be free. I mean, I feel like places are super crowded. They're probably free. Weren't people breaking into the parks during COVID? Oh my gosh, I could imagine that without any restrooms. That sounds like a real mess. But, it's just reflection, and if I can go back time, what I should have done differently, but it's also gratitude because we survived that 8 hours off road where I didn't see one other vehicle. I felt like I was on a stagecoach road. Like, it was very terrifying, and I was on a mission. I was going to show them, how dare you keep me from one of these national parks. I come from a military family who comes from another line of military family. Generations of black military folks who couldn't even vote, for Pete's sakes, had to live in segregation and go to school with only other black people. I was like, we should get a pass. We should get a pass. And if we want to donate, because you give your life for this country, and it's hard, or, it's really hard, and especially when you're drafted. And I was in ROTC, and I quit. I was going to be an officer. I was going to go into, trying to be an astronaut, and I quit. And the guy who was in charge, the military man, started cussing during my exit. And he goes, what is up with this? Every year, all the black students quit the ROTC. And here's what happened. I went to my class every day. I did my homework every day. I was the only person who went to class every single day. And now there's the other black, I think there was at least one black guy. They were in a different, he wasn't in my class. I was in the beginner class. So I think you do 4 years. So there was at least 4 tiers of classes, just like regular college. I was a freshman, so I was in the first year. And I got good grades, perfect attendance. Most of the time, people just didn't show up for class. One thing I didn't do, I didn't wear my uniform all the time. We were supposed to wear it twice a week. I only wore it once a week. I was in the science and the pre-med. You're not allowed to carry your backpack on your back. And I had all these classes on a 2-mile campus all day. And so I wore my uniform on the day we did the marching, but I didn't wear it to the classroom. So maybe he marked me down for that. But they said if you can't follow the rules, if your hair touches your collar, all this stuff, then don't wear your uniform. So I would have been sitting in all these big lecture hall classes with this ROTC uniform. I guess I just didn't want to be that person, right? I already feel like there was, a handful of blacks in science classes. It's already hard. You just want to kind of blend in, but that could be why. But it wasn't a requirement. It was an option. It might have been higher up. But to go and get all passing grades, this happened more than once. You get A's on everything, you have perfect attendance, but then you get a C in the class, or D, and you're like, I should have got an A. I don't care if you don't like me, but I earned an A. And God forbid if I did something stupid one day or forgot to do something, then give me a B. But don't undergrade me when I earned it, when I earned the grade, and then pump everyone else's score. So I should have said something that I don't think I actually knew my grade yet when I went into that exit. But I could be having in the comments right now people saying, oh, you're black, you think someone owes you something. You know what? There's a lot of struggle. My counselor, who was super racist and misogynistic, was like, you know what? You can get a job. There's one black person that works in my clinic, like in the clinic where there's like 6 sites. Where you're like, oh, there's 100 employees and you have one black person working. Good for you. Like, you know, but that's not me. You know, what about the other hundreds of black folks that applied for jobs there? I see who they hired. They look the same. And everybody's got the same degree and credentials. Some people may have more experience and, you know, but anyways, I'm in a different place. I'm totally, like, kind of out there. So I think I'm just going to order this stuff and go pick it up. And if I have to get it, like, at 8 o'clock tonight, if I'm tired, I'll just wait till tomorrow. Here's what I'm thinking. I wanted to do, I think I've tried this before, where I do some memoirs, and I saw that the library had a class on how to do memoirs. I don't know what memoirs are really, but to have people, I say, wow, I hear your story, you should write a book. But to be going to school to do, so I was going to be a doctor, an MD, military officer, Air Force officer. And I was going to take that, whatever it took, to become an astronaut and be on the shuttle, which doesn't even exist anymore. I don't think. The space shuttle. And I was going to be a doctor, a flight surgeon, like not even a flight surgeon, but an actual fly in space and be the doctor with the stethoscope around my neck, which would probably hit me because there's no gravity. That was my dream since I was a little kid. It got a little bit shifted when the Challenger incident happened. We watched that on TV. I believe it was live, but I'm not positive. But I remember, I'll tell you this and then I'll come back later, but this is devastating. In my school, we were little kids. This is after I'll rewind. Everyone made fun of the black guy talking about, oh, we found his foot in the ocean, like, but they kept making these rude comments about him being black, and these were little kids. We were in either 3rd or 4th grade. Just sickening to be the only black person in your class and have everyone make fun of someone who just died, who gave their life because of an explosion and that horrible incident. And that teacher, Christy McAuliffe, is a nightmare. Just such sadness, and you can't take it back. You can't say, no, don't go on that ship, you know, that spaceship. But my mom was working at the youth center. I think she was working at the youth center had a preschool. So for a while she was doing preschool, and then I think she was doing preschool and working in the youth center in the snack bar and doing all kinds of stuff. She started setting up a whole bunch of after-school programs, homework sessions, cooking. She set up all this stuff because she was always, besides me, she was abusive to me, but she set up all this stuff in the community to try to help kids. And she had some people that would help kids in the inner cities and teach kids how to play tennis and round up kids and do things. I mean, we're Americans. White people look at me like, black people have their own thing, their own food, their own music, their own church. Some black people say, yeah, that's true. I'm like, I'm in the United States of America, from a long line of United States of Americans, and we spent our Thanksgiving eating turkey, and we spent many days in church, and we spent time speaking English and wearing clothes that we got, that everyone else wore, and ironed and polished our shoes and made our beds with sheets. Like, we're not birds that live in a nest outside. We're human beings. And for me, came from a long line of the United States of Americans whoever the Europeans who enslaved us taught us, we do exactly the same things. Not exactly, because we weren't, like slaveholders. I heard somewhere, but I hope it wasn't our family. It wasn't me. Anyways, my friend's mom worked in that. So my mom worked in the youth center. And across the parking lot, my friend's mom worked in a daycare center. And we were still young enough to stay in the big kids' room of the daycare center. And we got permission to go see my friend's mom next door, where she taught toddlers. And with the toddlers, we had a table up by the front window where the doors go out into the hall to the main office or reception area. And the big kids were in the middle room. We didn't even have any lights in that room. It was like, I'm pretty sure there was no windows in that room. The babies in the very back. If you tiptoed in the baby room, everyone's always shushing you because it seemed like they were in the dark with just cribs and babies all over. Like, oh, I miss those days. It felt so special. Like, my friend became a military wife, and I was kind of envious of her because she got all those perks of being a military wife. Like, wow, like something. I mean, some people are anti-military, but I mean, there's a reason we need to defend our borders. But there's just some stuff gets out of control. That's coming from me. What do I know? I don't own a country. I don't run a country. What happened that day was they brought in a TV, like a tube TV, and they set it on a table, and all the little kids were over there doing whatever the little kids were doing. And we sat and watched the TV, and I still wanted to be a doctor. I still wanted to be an astronaut. And we watched the Challenger, and it exploded, and I was devastated. And I have been shook up ever since. It's from one of the things on my trauma timeline. And I talked to somebody recently, and they said they were at school, and they were watching it live. And she said that she was this was like in the past few years, but she was in the same school that I was, that let out with the high school kids, because the other two schools let out later. And I swore, like, so maybe, I don't know, I thought I was watching it live, but who knows? But it was sad because me and my friend had a special, because of our mom, we had a special privilege to leave the other kids and go sit out there together. And then they had brought that TV over. So it was just kind of a private viewing. And I don't even know what happened. I also, at that daycare center, I also watched a car accident. I was out in the hall. Sometimes I think us big kids would just straggle out in the hall. And it's a military base, so it's pretty much the security, even back then, that the director was just like, no. And I was watching, and I saw a car driving around really fast, and it went boom right into what I call a telephone pole. And I was like, and the director, well, I can't remember her name. She had like big blonde hair. I always thought she was old, but she was probably like 40 or something. She could have been 50, but she shushed us back into the middle room. They used to have us all stand on one spot, and they'd spray us. They'd spray the air above us with Lysol every single day. They Lysol us. Really, guys? I am still affected. You hear me cough. Hear me get nasally, all weirded out. My lungs. I started doing weird things after that. I believe that there was like chemical or alcohol in that became an addiction. So I'm gonna go figure out what to do. A moment of silence for the people and the loved ones that were involved in the Challenger accident. That was very sad, and there's no room for jokes. And it felt devastating as a child to know and watch people lost their lives, and then people have the nerve to make racist jokes. And it was little kids. So either they made it up, but I feel like they heard it from an older person, or we grow up in a racist society, no matter who we are. and it was normal for them to make fun, and they did it all the time. There was tons of racist stuff when I was in 3rd and 4th grade, tons. I can remember it, because again, I'm the only black girl in class, and it's just like, and it never once did a teacher or administrator quiet them down and tell them, don't, like, stop. Not once. Not that I remember. I would have remembered if I had known that happened. Moment of silence for those loved ones of those family members that died. Alright, wish me luck. I'm not trying to be a consumer, but I need to just get it together, and I'm going to go ahead, let's see, I'm charging that tablet. I'm going to go ahead and push stop. I'm going to try to post this video and put, I'm going to see if I have a category, but like, I don't want to put it in adventures, since I had this whole sad story. But that Grand Canyon, like, I mean, I can make one called Memoirs. That's the only thing I can think of, because then you're just telling it like it was. But I feel like, before I was going to sign off, before I sign off, I feel like I want to be out in the world, adventuring and traveling and seeing the sights, and I don't like crowded roads. I drive slow and careful, and I don't want to jerk the car around or anything. I've had a lot of issues with family members and stuff getting into really bad car accidents and people dying in car accidents, my relatives, like, so I meant to be very careful. My mom was pretty careful when she drove, but people want to drive like you're in New York City honking, squeezing by people and get, just to get to a red light. Like, most of the time it's literally to get, like, racing through crosswalks while a whole bunch of people are in it, and it's like they do it on purpose. If they would have hit me, it would have been on the news, and it's like, oh, a black woman was hitting the crosswalk, like, if you almost feel like they don't care, like they don't care if they had vehicular homicide, because maybe it's something they learned during their racist speeches in 3rd grade, who knows, even if it's subconscious, but I hope that's not true. But you gotta watch your back, guys. I sit inside a lot. I don't get a lot of sunlight. I don't like the noise outside. I did open the blinds. There was a man on a ladder right outside my window, and I was sitting on the bed. I was barely dressed, but I was dressed. I wasn't wearing my robe and flip-flops or whatever you call them, slippers. I mean, I would have been if I had a robe, but my robe doesn't fit. There was a man on a ladder. There was no notice, just really uncomfortable, and it happens so frequently. There's no privacy, and I'm anxious inside, and then it makes me anxious, so anxious inside that when I go outside and I hear all the noises and the people, and they're like, why do people keep parking next to my car? Why do they keep stopping there? Like, why are they walking around after I get out of my car at the store? Are they going to go steal my car? I had that happen before. Someone watched me park, and then they immediately went and stole my car. Because I was gone for like an hour and a half, and I came back and the car was gone, right? And I know that guy was definitely watching me. Just nasty stuff. And so hearing this AB Camp talk about camping with a little bug, or let's call it a bug, the little RV, and saying it was way too crowded, and he wants to be isolated, and the seeing the isolated camp with him or him and the dog, it seems almost too lonely, but there's always a task to do. And when you have the video, it's like you have your friends to talk to, and you especially have the dog, but even without it. But I could see, as I get older, and I don't have as much money as this man, he already had money. That's how he could start a cool channel. But then he had a cool channel that made him more money, right? You could see that he's buying really nice stuff. with his proceeds, but and the money he already has. It's just unbelievable. Like it to be like, where did I go wrong here? But I can see that comfort and not always settling. I was paying rent at a house after my ex-husband sold my house to his friends for really cheap, and I told my dad I really want a house to raise my kids in, and my dad said, you don't need a house. I'm not going to help you get a house. You don't need a house. And rent's always been more expensive than getting a mortgage, and um, it had been and for many years while I raised my kids. And my credit was really good. I didn't have any debt. I'm devastated that, and my ex-husband had a steady job. I'm devastated that I didn't just follow through on my own and fill out a joint application. But my dad talked me out of it. Like, you don't deserve a house. You know, when your brother was little, we had an apartment for a while before we bought a house. We had a 2-bedroom apartment. It was like, well, it's a husband and wife and a boy, and you're in military where you move all the time. You're moving every couple of years. And most of the time I've known I didn't even know about the apartment. So they had one apartment once. I think that was when he was in Vietnam. Like, because I saw pictures of that apartment that he was in Thailand with my mom and brother. But every other time they own a very, very large house in the suburbs. So black, just after segregation ended, a black couple with a child and a military officer with a good salary and a college education, which you could only get at a blacks only school back then, at least where he lived in the South. So he told me, you don't need an apartment or you don't need a house. And we're always just living in really, really horrible conditions and going to neighborhoods with really, really bad schools and very smart children. And that just doesn't click. That just, I feel like there's the kids who are all in these gangs and crime and selling drugs, doing drugs, and not graduating. It's just too much. It's too much. Too much. Especially the gangs and the shootings. You can't always get away from that. But sometimes you can make a decision. You can at least try. Then you got to deal with racism. Being treated poorly because you're black. Like, you got to choose the lesser of evils, and they're both really evil, but dying is prematurely is just not right. But could you imagine being in the military and moving every 2 years, but telling your child, when you have all these huge mansion houses, and telling your child who's got a boy and a girl that should have their own separate rooms, paying more in rent than you would with a mortgage, having all these rules, no bikes, no roller skates, you can't do this, can't do that, gotta have inspections every other day. Doesn't matter, you're gonna get kicked out because you're always doing something wrong. You got a dandelion in your backyard, you got a flower pot on your porch. Oh, somebody delivered a paper. Remember they used to deliver papers every day, the free ones? They used to throw those on your porches, I think. Oh, too bad that you went to work at 6:30 in the morning. We saw a paper on your porch. You got an eviction notice. Like, literally, they do stuff like that. Oh, we came to your apartment every day this week without notice just to spy on you. I'm like, you come into my apartment to spy on me, but you don't fix the broken fridge or the toilet that runs 24/7 and, like, try to blame my kid for flushing the toy. You didn't flush any toy. You liar. You know you lied. Thank God that there's somebody that reprimanded that. They said, no, it's not just you. We know your kid didn't flush anything. That happened to every single apartment because they used faulty parts. The contractors used the wrong parts for the amount of chlorine that was in the city water. They used the wrong parts, and it caused everybody's water to run because the parts degraded and the toilet didn't have that flippity-flip thing. It was just disintegrated. Anyways, it's going on long enough, but I feel guilty saying that I want to do things comfortable, and because I'll say, oh, you really do need to get those bills and those checks that you earned already so that you can put it towards your debt, so that you can be alive and long enough to go to the Grand Canyon, or to, if you have to take a group trip. I could never take my kids skiing. I've never taken them really to Mount Hood, which is like, 2 hours from here. We've gone to the Snow Bunny parking lot twice. Or 3 times, I think. Actually, we did it this year, 2023. The other 2 times before they were 18. But we never took them skiing. We never took them to a cabin in the snow or anything fun where they could run around and watch the deer and stuff. And I keep dreaming of that. And that's not a necessity. But I tell myself, be courageous. You set yourself up to be a doctor. You are a doctor in multiple states. Use your license. Get paid. But it's been a nightmare. These patients have been not paying me. The insurance is not paying me. It is a nightmare. And it's costing me so much money to keep the business open, to be screwed over. So I need to regroup. That's what I'm doing right now. But I set myself up. But I've been trained that people, they keep saying, people like you aren't doctors. So I will let myself fall through my own cracks because I think I'm not good enough. And people are like, oh, this person's a doctor. This person does this. This person travels. This person's got a great YouTube channel because they're a doctor. Like, oh, wait, you're a doctor too. I'm like, yeah. It's not just because they're doctors. Because people like them. People don't like me. I want to break that curse and find people that do like me, and find people that are honest, and find people that are real. And I'm not the only doctor that I know. My colleagues aren't getting totally screwed over, and having people lie and forge documents from their clinic and different things like that. I'm finding out stuff every day. It's not make it better, but it makes it known that it's not necessarily always just singling me out. But people can find lower value, even just being a woman. They can find lower value in you. And they'll call men Dr. such and such, but they won't ever use the word doctor for the woman. And they'll call the woman by their first name, even if you direct them to call me doctor, last name, Dr. Orange. They'll just be like, Mia, Dr. Mia, first name only. I do that for kids because I see peds, and I want to make it easy for little kids, but I feel like this past 2 weeks, despite me having severe COVID and extreme fevers, I feel like there's going to be a breakthrough, and that I set myself up, and I'm not retiring at 40 or 50 years old, and that I planned on working forever, but I can work around the U.S., Canada, if I sign up for that, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, I believe. And I could work under somebody else in Australia and or New Zealand. I know there was a black man, naturopathic physician, working in Europe or Asia. I don't know. Somebody got a job somewhere, and I remember somebody talking about it, and I wrote his name down, and I looked him up. I was like, when you graduate, contact this person because you want to travel. And because you're poor, because you don't have money, because you don't have a husband or husband that I had a husband once, he didn't have much money, spend it all, and I ended up paying all the rent in an apartment, begging my dad for money, using my money for everything. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm the one that bought the house that he gave away. It was my car that he drove and wrecked. I feel like a sucker. I'm very grateful for my kids. I would not redo that. Very grateful for my kids, but I just want to be happy. And there is a group of people that can't go to eat in fancy restaurants, or maybe you do and overdraw your account or go into debt because you're like, hey, I might not be around next year on my birthday. Here's the secret. I tell you there's pearls often at the end of my videos. The secret is, which I may have mentioned before, I found out at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base before COVID when I started dating again, I told someone they never talked to me again. They had the flight surgeon courses, and I contacted the staff to sign up for the classes. And the first class you take, you have to, if you're not in the military, they're expecting you to be in the military. If you're not in the military, you need to dress up business, but they kind of describe it for a man. I don't know, like a suit and tie. I don't know if you had to wear the jacket, but I think you wear the button-up shirt and the slacks. And you had to be high clearance, high security clearance, be able to pass all that because you had to be on the base. And that was the intro class, and then you take like a few more classes. And I believe the fine print said that you're supposed to be a student of a medical school. I don't know if you can be a doctor already, but I'm not an MD or DO, and I don't have any kind of license that would make it where TRICARE, I don't think, I should check, Medicare straight and TRICARE military insurance, I don't believe pays me. Even as a doula, they pay some doulas, but not me because of the type of doula course I took. But my dream was to be a flight surgeon because I never went in to be a, and that would be more doing physical exams on Earth. But I didn't, I looked into it, I dreamed it up, I contacted somebody, I tried to figure out how am I going to get to Ohio. My parents met there, my parents were toxic. I thought if I go full circle to the beginning of life for me and go back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, take these classes, and blossom as closer to my actual dream of being a military doctor involved in space. They called it flight surgeon. I don't think they call it that anymore, and I don't think you actually, I know surgery, but only minor surgery. They say you have to be able to fly a lot, so you better be on the aircraft. And then, what was the other thing? When you see jobs, I'm not sure, if you look at Air Force or military jobs, I think 37 or something. So I remember when I was desperate for work, and I was like, I'm going to join the military. I'm so desperate, I'm going to join the military. That was one of my dreams, and I just didn't have money. I couldn't support my kids, and I would have, got sucked into some kind of conflict, and had to find someone to take care of them. Who do you have? You don't have any parents or no relatives cared about them, but I would have just found somebody. I was trying to set somebody up for my church to try to help out. I should try to set up a will, but I said, oh, I only had a couple of years left till I could enlist in the military. I'm way over that age, but I noticed that for doctors, I think it was 65 was the latest age that they could, enlist. But don't quote me on that. I just remember seeing it, and I was like, hey, I'm a doctor. This could be a way to get some income and retirement, and I could do it as a civil servant, maybe. That's what I was thinking. So I've actually stumbled upon a bunch of classes. They're just infomercials, but I've been taking them on government contracting. So as one person, I could do a one-person contract, or if I was to receive funds, I'll try to secure somebody like a family nurse practitioner or somebody who's semi-retired, and try to see if I could get a colleague, maybe with my license, and have them be like, hey, could I ever hire you if there's a situation, it's very temporary, part-time, because you could have one person or two people working with me and have time to recruit. So if I were to get a stipend of money, I could provide the services, not as one person. They do that for notary, they'll have a big event and you'll be there 6 hours and they'll pay you a few $100s, and I got called to do one of those once, and I didn't do it. So what can I do as one person? It wouldn't be like a clinic with 50 doctors, and it could be, but I would need the funds first, but I could literally get a huge contract stipend and set something up. Maybe not 50, but start with like 5 or 10 providers that can work. But the thing is, for government or any other thing, there's doctors, naturopaths everywhere. If they're in a state where it's illegal, they're not going to be there as a doctor. They're going to be doing something else with the same title, because they earned a doctoral degree, but not as a doctoral with a license. So it could restrict things. So it's hard for me to tell you guys my plans, but let's just say Virginia turn on the license for naturopaths. So there's plenty of naturopaths there. They turn on a license. They can take local insurance, and somebody gets a contract. Say I get the license there, and there's a government institution there, or FBI or something, and I get a contract to do hypertension courses or different courses, like once a month or once a week. Once a week sounds like a lot. And they could be a webinar, they could be live where you come in. I stand on a podium and I'm teaching, and then I set up in a room all my testing machines. When I finally find a place where I could do CLIA waived, I was like, I'm a licensed physician and you're not letting me do a COVID test, a rapid COVID, like really? Or a glucose monitoring, like anyone could do that. Anyone could go to the drugstore right now and get the test, but I'm a licensed physician, trained and licensed, and you're not. Maryland's not letting me do it. I'm going to try it again, by the way. I need to do it here. And say I was having CLIA wave testing, and I've done this because I used to work at a lab, and we've done it career day, and it doesn't have to be every day, and it could be a short contract. It could be like 3 months. It could be, and I've thought about this before. I used to sign up for other webinars where they said stop doing individual, and it wasn't for just doctors. Like, you should do group stuff. You should do telemedicine. And I remember this lady like, I make like $3 million a day. I make $3,000 a day by just working for 2 45-minute sessions with a group of patients where I do group work, and I get paid for each patient. Like, and she had this fabulous background. She didn't have toilet paper behind her like I did. I hate talking about my plans, but this has been on my mind for many years, way before I graduated from medical school. And what's going on now is not working, and the insurance payments are becoming less. Each year they're making it lower for my license, and it's unsustainable. Peace, guys. I'm going to go ponder what I said. I'll keep you caught up because I'm really needing to regroup, pray, and meditate about this. Goodbye.